genes of you and me. They're all made of DNA. We're all made of the same chemical DNA. We're all made of DNA.
Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of Discovering New Advances, or DNA, a podcast that keeps you up to date on the world of genetics in an easy-to-understand language. So whether you are a student in middle school or a grandparent, you will easily be able to follow along. I'm Kira, and on this episode, I will give an introduction lesson on genetic diseases. The following episodes will either keep you updated on genetic advances in the scientific world or teach more lessons on genetics. So if you are already familiar with how genetic diseases work, you can skip to the following episodes about news on the genetic advances happening today and how it is affecting our world. For more information, please visit dnapodcast.com or email info@dnapodcast.com. Again, that's dnapodcast.com. I want to thank Melody Sheep for providing the intro music. As I said earlier, today we'll be learning about genetic diseases. We're going to cover sickle cell disease, Huntington's disease, Down syndrome, Cystic Fibrosis, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and Sachs, in that order. So let's start out with sickle cell disease, which is a disease of the blood. Now, it is called sickle cell disease because of the red blood cells affected are shaped like a sickle or a crescent instead of a normal, healthy, round disc shape. This is due to a mutation in the hemoglobin gene. If you don't know what hemoglobin is, it's basically a protein in the red blood cells. The purpose of red blood cells are to carry oxygen throughout the body. When a person does not have enough oxygen in their body, it is called anemia. When they don't have enough oxygen because of sickle cells, that's when they have the disease. Because of that, the disease is also known as sickle cell anemia. The crescent shape of the red blood cells makes it harder than normal red blood cells to travel throughout the body. They can even get stuck inside smaller blood vessels, known as sickle cell crisis. This can cause pain in those bones. Other signs and symptoms include feeling pain in the stomach or chest, tiring more easily. The whites of the eyes may also be yellowish. So the body also detects these sickle cells as not healthy and for that reason destroys them more quickly. The body then can't produce enough red blood cells to replace them. This disease is found more often in African Americans. 1 out of every 500 are affected by sickle cell disease. There's not necessarily a cure for this disease, but in some cases, getting a bone marrow transplant can significantly help. Getting a bone marrow transplant replaces some sickle cells with normal, healthy red blood cells. So now let's learn about Huntington's disease, which is a disease of the brain. This disease affects the nerve cells in the brain, which then affects behavior, movement, and cognition. The disease is caused by a mutation in the 4th chromosome. In healthy bodies, this gene produces the protein Huntington. In a body affected by the disease, this gene is larger and produces a larger form of the protein. Cells in the brain are very sensitive to the effects of abnormal, larger Huntington protein, which makes them function poorly and die. In most cases, people begin to show signs in their 40s and 50s. People that show signs earlier, like in their 20s, are identified with juvenile Huntington's disease. Symptoms include movement disorder of both involuntary movements and can impair voluntary movements. The cognitive aspect of the disease can impair thinking, judgment, awareness, and perception. Depression is a common symptom when affected by Huntington's because the brain is changed and injured. There is a 50-50 chance that the child of a parent carrying the Huntington's disease will develop the disease themselves. There is no cure for Huntington's, but there is medication to help with the symptoms. However, there is no way to slow it down. The next disorder is Down syndrome. Chances are you've probably seen people affected by this disease. They have unique physical features such as a flatter face and upward slanted eyes. Many people with this syndrome have health issues. Half of the babies born with Down syndrome have heart defects and some have intestinal problems. These issues can usually be fixed with surgery. Infections tend to be harsher and last longer than in a normal healthy person. Children will develop slower. Physical therapy can help their skills in walking and talking. The cause of this is the presence of an extra chromosome, or in some cases, a chromosome has an extra part. So instead of 46 chromosomes, which is 23 pairs, like a normal healthy person, a person affected by Down syndrome usually has 47 chromosomes. This disease affects around 1 out of every 800 babies born in the United States of all different types of race and nationality. There's no found cause for Down syndrome, but older mothers increase the risk. Let's move on to cystic fibrosis, known as CF for short. It is a disease that causes the body to produce mucus that is really thick and sticky. This is due to cells in the epithelium being compromised by the disease. The epithelium consists of cells that line hollow organs and glands and those that make up the outer surface of the body. In a normal, healthy body, the epithelium produces a thin, watery mucus that acts as a lubricant. However, in a body affected by cystic fibrosis, the epithelium produces thick mucus which can build up in the lungs, pancreas, liver, digestive tract, and other organs. It can then create clogs in the passages to those organs. The two organs affected most by CF are the pancreas and the lungs. The pancreas produces enzymes to help digestion. When clogs are formed from the thick mucus, it becomes hard to digest food. The lungs can also have a mucus buildup, which can lead to bacteria and later cause infections. CF most commonly affects Caucasians of Northern European descent. 1 in every 20 people living in the United States is a CF carrier. People have a 1 in 4 chance of inheriting the disease if both parents are a carrier. There is no cure for this disease. People diagnosed with CF should exercise regularly to loosen mucus in their lungs. Symptoms may seem mild, but they do increasingly get worse over time. The next genetic disorder is Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a progressive muscular disease that causes muscle weakness. Compared to other muscular diseases, the muscles weaken much faster and it is more common. It is also known as the number 1 fatal genetic disorder that children are diagnosed with today. Boys inherit the disease when receiving an X chromosome from their mother that does not produce the protein dystrophin properly. This protein is an essential building block of healthy muscles. Symptoms can include mental retardation and fatigue. They can appear before the age of 6 and in some cases while still an infant. Another obvious symptom is loss of muscle control, which leads to losing the ability to walk around the age of 12. By the boy's teen years, the heart and respiratory muscles become affected. Like all other genetic disorders mentioned on this episode, there is no cure. There are, however, treatments that can help improve the quality of life, such as steroids, to slow the deterioration of muscle loss. The final genetic disorder I'll be covering is Sachs, also known as TSD, which is a fatal disorder. This is where a baby doesn't show signs until they reach the age of 6 months. They almost never live past 5 years old. This disorder causes the destruction of the central nervous system. One of the first signs of this disorder is a red spot in the back of the baby's eye. The disease is on chromosome 15 and is caused by the absence of hex A. This is an enzyme that breaks down acidic fatty materials called gangliosides. In a normal healthy child, these acidic fatty materials, gangliosides, are created and then broken down by the enzyme hex A, and this happens while the brain is developing. In a child affected by Tay-Sachs, this enzyme, hex A, isn't working properly. Therefore, there is a buildup of the gangliosides. This then causes the central nervous system to be affected. Physical and mental abilities then decline. The development of the child will slow once the symptoms begin. It will then stop and even reverse. There is no cure for this disease. It is considered extremely rare and is known to affect people of Jewish heritage more than any other population. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to email in at info@dnapodcast.com. Please visit dnapodcast.com for more episodes and this lesson along with others, not only in audio format but also in written format. There is also a contact form there for easy access to send in feedback about the show or any questions you might have. Or you can email directly at info@dnapodcast.com. So to keep in contact with the show, you can like it on Facebook and follow it on Twitter, both at /DNA Podcast. Please drop a review on iTunes. It is highly appreciated and the best way to attract subscribers so others like yourself can benefit from the show. You can find all those links I mentioned on the website, dnapodcast.com. Thanks for listening and join me next episode to learn and discover new advances in the world of genetics.